back to OSPF. Okay. So, I'm realizing that some of the things that I wanted to talk about, I should have talked about, is not listed in our OneNote here. Like EIGRP stub areas. Okay. We didn't talk about that. Okay. And they're definitely missing from OSPF. And OSPF stub areas are really a topic that needs to be discussed. So I need to create this in OneNote, or just leave it for later on. Okay. We have gotten, and I might end up probably leaving it for later on. It's just uh, maybe from a perspective, because remember, this is my CCNA notes. All right, and this notes in OneNote for me to actually do the training for the CCNA course. So it might not have been a CCNA topic. It maybe got into a CCNP topic. So I'll go ahead and check my OneNote for CCNP, because I don't even know if that's actually completed or not. But it has to be because um, I'll leave that thought to myself. But nonetheless, um, look at our next thing. Even more stuff with OSPF. Okay? And like I said, there's still an area for stub areas. So, which is missing off this one note, but that part's okay. Alright, so LSA type 1s. Okay? These are called router LSAs. Now, the thing is, here's the thing about the OSPF database. Okay? They're not going to tell you that they're type 1s and type 2s and type 3s and 4s and 5s. What they're going to tell you is what's in the parentheses next to the types. Okay? Like router LSAs, network LSAs, network summary. Okay? But it might not say network, it might just say summary. Okay? It might not say router. Okay? LSAs. It might. I can't remember. But at the same time, when we go through the lab and start building each one of these LSA types, you'll see what's in there. Okay, and here's the thing. All right, when you look at the database, okay, you're going to see each LSA type in in sections of the database. Okay, meaning that under the router LSAs, it might say router, okay, and it'll have all the LSAs listed underneath there. And then the next thing in the middle of the actual screen, okay, it'll say network. And then underneath there will be a list of LSA router IDs, by the way, okay, and it'll say summary in the middle of the next section. All right, so it's like building a Word document, and each one of your sections of your paragraphs has in the middle of the screen a section of what that paragraph is about. Okay, so that's how it's going to show you in the database. Okay, meaning that you need to have a correlation in your mind of what type of LSAs you're looking at. Because if I look at the summary section of my OSPF database, okay, I need to know what that means. Okay, so our LSA type 1s, these are router LSAs. Okay, now we go back up to here. Okay, those are going to be everything in area 0. Every one of these routers is going to be sending out LSA type 1s, okay, to the DR, so the DR can distribute out to other devices, and everybody has the same database. Okay, that means everybody knows of every link within that area. Okay, and those are going to be router area 0. I'm sorry, router LSAs or LSA type 1s in our area 0 section. Okay, if area 200 had 10 routers, every one of those routers will share the same database, and it will also have its own DR and BDR election. Okay, makes sense? Now, LSA type 2s, okay, these are network LSAs, okay, and they are generated by the DR, meaning that in area zero, okay, once the DR is elected, okay, it's going to send out type 2 LSAs, okay, talking about, hey, I'm the DR. All right, let's go back over here. Okay. Okay, so type 3s. Type 3s are generated at, now remember, on the ABRs, that's the only time, or in the ASBRs, that you can do summarization, which we haven't discussed yet. But at the same time, okay, all right, LSA type 3s are generated by ABRs. Okay, that means within area 0, okay, all right, this ABR is going to take routes that it has learned from area 200 and put them inside area 0 as type 3 LSAs. Okay, all right. And these are done by the ABRs, meaning that when I have a type 3 or a item in my database, okay, that is under the summary section, okay, that tells me it's coming from another area, all right, as I'm looking at the database. All right, LSA type 4s, these are summary LSAs that are from the ASBR, okay? Now, they're identical in the structure to a type 3 LSA, okay? But it is sent by the ASBR. Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, LSA type 4s can get kind of confusing, but here's the reality, okay? So we go back over to here. RIP is outside of our OSPF domain, okay? That is why it is an autonomous system border router. All right, that one link is in the area 0 of the OSPF database or network, and one's in the RIP domain. Okay, so now, what happens with LSA4? Okay, really is telling the other routers is where the ASBR is at. Okay, so look, we have a RIP route of 10.0.0.0 coming in to our OSPF domain. Okay, it is going to tell all the other routers this is a type 4 LSA. Okay, all right. Notice that 3s are network summaries and 4 is a summary. Okay, all right. Now, the thing is, when these type 4s come in, what it's going to say is, look, this is outside our domain. Okay, and this is how you reach this area that we need to get to. And this area is going to be not an OSPF area, but a external area, meaning that here is your route, and here is the IP address of the ASBR that gets you to that route. Okay, I hope I explained that correctly. It really, the LSA type 4s are really telling you where the external exit point of our domain is to get into another domain. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, I type 5s. All right. These are external LSAs which are originated by the ASBR. Okay, and it's described as external, which is exactly what I just told you. Okay, but that's why I was trying to explain to you that there might be LSA type 5s there that it really is the description of what I told you what the LSA 4s are. But the LSA 4 types, they're telling you where the ASBR is. Where where the type 5s are telling you that these are external routes. That's why it gets confusing, because when you start reading the documentation and start learning this, you're like, well, wait a minute, isn't type 4 is the same as a type 5? Okay, so that's why I wanted to emphasize that the type 4s are telling you where the ASBR is. Okay, technically telling you where our destination needs to be in order to get to these external routes. Okay, which are type 5s. Yeah, it gets kind of weird there. Now, not so stubby area. Okay, that's a stub area, which I don't have listed here. Okay, so when you are actually creating a particular area as a stub area, okay, which it could be this rip area over here. Okay, but it can't be, because that, I'm sorry, hang on. I'm sorry, that is not correct. Not this one. Let's say area 100 is a stub area. Okay, all right. So now in that area, okay, what you're doing in a stub area with OSPF. Okay, it's with EIGRP. Okay, when you have a stub area, what you're saying is, look, there's no more routers behind me. Okay, so after I get a query message, because there's something else we haven't discussed with EIGRP. EIGRP, when it loses access to a route, okay, or the route loses, or it gets, lost in the routing table, it'll send out queries about that route before it ejects it out of the routing table. Okay, so if it hits a stub router, okay, that stub router is saying, hey, there's no more routers past me. So it's not going to forward any queries inside or past that router. Okay, stopping unnecessary traffic going past the stub router. Where in areas in OSPF, the stub routers are there to filter certain type of LSA types. Okay, all right. So in a not so stubby area, okay, we are filtering out certain LSAs, which are pretty much all of them. Okay, and from that aspect, what we're going to do is we are going to generate by the ASBR. Okay, all right. You know what? I was right. I guess the rip can be. So now it says ha ha ha. Said okay. So now we got an issue here. So now mentally in my brain, I'm like, okay, I need to go back and research what the not so stubby areas are. Okay. Now this is going to be one of those topics with the stub areas that you're probably not going to see in production on a regular basis, and this knowledge over a period of time will get lost to you. Okay. All right. So this is created or generated by ASBRs. Okay, that means the 100 area or area 100 was not a good example, as I was changing that example, thinking that I could not use the RIP, which obviously I went there for a reason, because subconsciously that's the area I went to. Okay, so it is done by the ASBRs. Okay, so you can't have certain LSA types in the stubby area. Okay, so in the not so stubby area, how am I going to have summary routes? Okay, and that's the thing, I can't. So I'm going to have this extra type, which is called LSA type 7. Okay, all right, and that is going to go in and be generated and come into my area 0 as type 7s. Okay, so now, all right, when we do labbing, all this will make better sense. But again, this topic, I'm kind of being vague on purpose, because all right, these topics to go in detail are more advanced topics, and I'm not trying to do advanced topics as of yet. Okay, so that's where I'm going to leave it. Okay, and there's a lot more other areas as far as stubs are concerned that we need to discuss anyway. So I need a whole new section here. Okay, but that's going to have to be in a CCNP section. Okay. All right, which means we're going to be going from the basics into professional aspects, meaning that the things I'm going to teach you at the professional level are going to be topics that should allow you to go from a small network, as far as administration is concerned, to a very large network, okay, like enterprise level network when we get into the more professional topics, okay? All right, that's pretty much it with the LSA types. All right, again, this is something you cannot ignore. Okay, learning OSPF. All right, and I'm gonna tell you, if you ever go into a interview, okay, and they're gonna ask you OSPF questions, LSA types are going to come up. Sorry. All right, you just can't have knowledge of OSPF without having LSA type knowledge and the information not listed here. Okay? All right? And that is pretty much it. That's where we end OSPF, okay, in that perspective. And that's it with our routing protocols. And of course, as always, be strong, be determined, be Cisco. And guys, I will see you on the next one.